Welcome to this special edition of the Bunker Bob Show, where the runoff candidates for Rockwall County Commissioner, Place 1, are here in the bunker. I created these forums to provide candidates the opportunity to put their best foot forward, which is why, as I have always done, the candidates received a copy of the questions before they even had to decide to participate. Through the magic of video, we create the illusion that both candidates are in studio at the same time. However, each candidate sat down with me for a one-on-one interview, which is edited together to create the illusion that they're here in the studio at the same time. This is why I will ask follow-up questions of one candidate but not the other, and why the candidates do not respond to one another's answers. In fact, the first time either candidate will have heard the answers from their opponent will be at the time of this broadcast. Now, I never place time limits on candidates' answers. However, when they go long, and sometimes they do, we will edit it for time. And before we begin each recording, I let every candidate know that they can re-answer or restate anything they say, because the purpose of today's show is to allow them to be the best that they can be. With every question, I alternate which candidate answers first, and this year I came up with a more objective way to determine who is introduced first by having each candidate pick a number between 1 and 100.
3.
The number is 78.
77.
77, it is 78. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. All right, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Play the lottery today.
Well, yeah, I should. Immediately leave here and play the lottery.
So with that, let me first introduce Bobby Gallana. Bobby moved to Rockwall in 1983. He graduated from Rockwall High School and attended the greatest university in the nation, Texas A&M University. God bless you. And the University of Oklahoma. Now, what is that about?
So in my last semester at A&M, I was offered a job, and I already had a family.
Yeah.
So I took the job, and they paid me to finish my school at the University
Oh, my
of Oklahoma.
goodness.
So I said, hey, no debt.
Oh, my. Wow. Do you have a ring?
A great full-time job. I do.
Okay.
I do. I completed all but 9 hours.
Yeah, so that's worthy of it. Okay, yeah. Well, that's good bull. That's good bull.
Yeah.
You still consider yourself an Aggie?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, well, then you can continue on the show then. That's great. Of course, I'm kidding. All right, so he holds a Bachelor of Arts in Business Management and has spent 15 years with Enterprise Holdings, retiring as Regional Vice President after successfully leading a large team of area managers and department heads while developing and executing strategic plans and multi-million-dollar budgets to award-winning success. Bobby is now the owner and CEO of a consulting firm that helps businesses achieve financial success and was recognized as the fastest growing franchise in the company in 2023. He serves on the Rockwall County GOP Executive Committee as parliamentarian and legislative chair, is the recent past president of the Rockwall Lions Club and current zone chair for Lions Club in Rockwall, Royce City, Fate, and Greenville. Bobby is a proud blue tie guy for the Children's Advocacy Center for Rockwall County and enjoys supporting several other local charitable organizations, including Meals on Wheels, Lone Star Casa, Boys and Girls Club, and others. Most importantly, Bobby is married to the love of his life, Alma McClintock, and has 3 daughters, Kayla, Maddie, and Caitlin. Bobby, it is great to see you back on the show again.
It's great to be here.
All right. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Mike Townsend, who is a longtime resident of Rockwall with 25 years in Precinct 1. He is married to Shelley and is the proud father to Madison, a graduate of Rockwall High School, and Caden, who is currently a senior. In honor of their son, Michael Blake, Mike and Shelley have created an annual scholarship for worthy Rockwall High School senior to assist with college. And Mike, you lost Michael when he was about 6.
About 6.
And it's been somewhere around 18 years or so.
It's been a while, yes.
But that kind of thing never goes away, I imagine, for you and Shelley.
It doesn't. We live with it every day, and, it's there's no way that it gets better, but it gets to where you learn to deal with it, and we still love Michael Blake, with everything we are, and still have those issues with us on a regular basis, but we're real proud of who he was, and glad to be his parents.
And you found a way to keep his memory alive, obviously through the scholarship. Who are the kind of what's the kind of kid that you guys award this scholarship to?
We're looking for fighters. We're looking for good kids. We're looking for kids that just know that there's struggles in the way and that they just have to keep going and keep over it. Blake spent most of his life fighting those type battles, but at the same time had a very loving spirit and had just a happy-go-lucky kind of kid and just loved being a kid. And so we're looking for those kids that persevere and that overcome and just keep pushing. And we just feel like they're going to be successful because they can use that approach to whatever they do.
Wow. Thank you for doing that. Well, and let me continue. Mike and Shelley are dedicated members of Lake Point Church and are actively engaged in the community. Mike has served on the board of various organizations, including Camp Soul, Rockwall Noon Rotary, the Rockwall Education Foundation, as well as the Make-A-Wish Foundation of North Texas Wish Night. For more than 20 years, Mike has worked as a solutions manager for one of the largest and oldest telecommunications companies in the nation. I'm guessing you can figure out which one, where he manages multi-million-dollar projects and leads teams to find creative solutions for complex issues across multiple areas. Mike's civic involvement includes service on the Rockwall Park and Recreation Board, serving as the city's liaison on the board of Star Transit, which caters to the needs of Rockwall County citizens. His dedication to public service in Rockwall is evident as he was term limited off the Rockwall City Council, where he served a maximum of 3 terms, including one as Mayor Pro Tem. Mike, great to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Well, the first question is an easy one. Why are you running? Mike, why on earth would anyone want to be a county commissioner?
I love Rockwall. We've lived here, as you noted, a long time, and I just love this place. And I love watching the growth, and I love watching it, change over the years. And I just, I want to be a part of that. I was, as you noted, I was on the city council and just enjoyed doing that, enjoyed trying to solve those problems and find the right solution for Rockwall and continue us down that path that we all want to go. And tying in the quality of life that we have with decisions that we make going forward. And then the current commissioner, this friend of mine, Cliff Sevier, decided he was going to retire and came and asked me if I'd be interested in running. And so that's why I'm running, is so I can continue to just push Rockwall into the future and plan ahead and get us prepared for whatever may come going forward.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bobby?
I would tell you first, I want to serve the county I love. I grew up here. It's important to me that Rockwall stays as unique and wonderful as it is. It's I've lived all over the country, and I came back home here because no place is like this that I've ever lived. And I want to make sure it's good for the future for my grandkids and on down the road. And I feel like my background in strategic management and leading multi-million-dollar budgets really fits with what the court needs right now. We need a strategic plan. We've never had one at the county level ever.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so they're starting to undertake one now. And if I'm successful, I'll be on the court right when we get to the meat of the strategic plan. I feel like I can really offer value to where we're going. And that was my background.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, the next question is, do you have a faith? And if so, what is it? And how will it guide you when elected? Bobby?
Yeah, I'll tell you that, as an early, young kid, I went to Baptist school. And so my faith was really instilled, at that point. I believe in the Bible. It guides me. That's my faith. I go to a couple different churches, sometimes First Baptist in Dallas, sometimes Lake Point. But it's my guiding principle. When I make a decision, I want it to be a godly decision. And it really guides my life, my wife's life, our family. And it's really where our values lie.
Very good. Mike?
Do I have a faith? Yes, I do. It guides me in everything I do. It is the base principle of everything that whether it's work or home or decisions that I make, it's the base underlying of everything. I've been a Christian for multiple years. My dad was a Baptist pastor, and so we grew up based off of those principles. Everything that directed us always fell back to that. So I think as part of that, it pushes you even in this political office to where you realize there are principles that you have to have, and you hold true to those principles. A lot of times in politics, you're asked to make compromises for expediency or for, just to get along. And that's all well and good, but at the same time, you have to have those principles that guide you, that direct you, and that keep you down that, proper path. And that's what I use my Christian faith for.
Thank you very much. Well, in 2022, 84% of Rockwall County voters cast ballots in the Republican primary. Not surprisingly, Rockwall County Republican candidates averaged 72% of the vote in the general election. Now, to put this in perspective, Republicans running in statewide races like governor, attorney general, and land commissioner, for example, held their seats with an average of 54% of the vote, which demonstrates why Rockwall is one of the reddest counties in Texas. This also demonstrates that to get elected in Rockwall, one must run as a Republican, a fact that incentivizes Democrats to run as RINOs, Republicans in name only. Considering this, what is your definition of a Republican, and how should an elected Republican be different from Democrats, independents, and other third-party commissioners? Mike, how would you answer this one?
I've been a Republican as far as I know, way back when I first started voting. I remember when Reagan ran and all of that, and how that was just totally new to me at that time. I'll say from a Republican standpoint, I believe that we have to stand true to constitutional and conservative principles, and we have to hold tight to those. I don't think it's a matter of going out and, hey, and let's reinterpret this, or let's it's a living document, that means it'll change. No, it's what our founders put in place, and we need to follow that. There are situations, obviously, that we come across that may not have been thought of by our founders, but our founders were pretty smart. And the fact that they put guidelines into our Constitution and into our way of life, system of government, and that type thing, that wasn't so stringent that it only dealt with, agriculture, or only dealt with, a business or something like that, but it gave overall principles that we can follow even to this day. And I think that's important to follow and to keep, focused on, and not try and change it to fit, one current methodology or one current group, that might stand up and go, oh, well, we want to be heard. Well, our Constitution's really designed in a way to hear all those organizations and all those concerns by allowing individual freedom, by allowing individual rights. And they're not given to us by the government, but they're provided to us. God gave them to us, and the government is there to ensure them, not necessarily God gave me the rights. I don't need the government to tell me what they are, but they're just to make sure that we don't infringe on that type thing. So that's where I think I stand.
Yeah, government's role is to protect those rights. Do you feel like the Constitution and the rights of individuals are coming under attack right now?
I think a lot of times nowadays we start listening to those 1% voices. Unfortunately, those 1% voices are also probably the loudest voices, and the people that are standing strong with those other avenues, if you will, don't speak up as much. And I think we get sucked into that culture of let's scream and be heard. And so, do I think we have groups that are guiding us down that wrong path? Absolutely. Yeah. I think when we start trying to separate people by how they they worship, or what they look like, or or where they live, or we get into trouble. So luckily, you look back again on the Constitution, and the Constitution didn't do that. It didn't talk about, hey, well, we're going to give rights to people who are 6 foot this right, and people that are 4 foot get another one. They just didn't do that. No. And so we don't have to either. We don't have to worry about whether somebody likes boys or likes girls, or wants to live in a mud hut or a brick home. That's not anything that the government has to worry about and shouldn't. So
excellent. Thank you very much, Mike. Bobby, how would you answer this?
That's a great question, and the Republican name, the ideals behind being a Republican has been really butchered by some people lately.
Amen.
A Republican to me is somebody who has conservative principles at the heart of everything that they do. That includes being fiscally conservative, being conservative from a religious background. All of those things to me make up what a Republican really is. A Republican also stands true to their values. They don't bend when money comes into play. They don't bend when somebody sitting next to them may want to vote a different way. A Republican sticks with their conservative values no matter what's around them. And that's why I think differs a Republican from a Democrat, or a Republican from a so-called RINO. A true Republican isn't swayed by somebody else. They have values instilled in them, and they're guided by that. Like I talked about being guided by godly principles earlier, it's the same thing for me. So somebody can't sway me. My values are what they are. And that's what the Republican Party stands for, I think. It stands for a unified family. It stands for Christian conservative values. And that's what it should be.
Very good. Very good. Well, I've asked all the candidates to reread the Texas State Republican platform that was adopted by GOP delegates back in June of 2022. Are there any platform planks that you oppose? And if so, what are they? And why do you oppose them? Bobby?
So I would tell you that I was a state delegate to the Republican convention, and I voted for all of the platform planks that we have. And so, that's evidence that I obviously support them all. And there's not one that I oppose. I believe in them all, and I believe that we should seek to uphold those in every office.
Amen. Amen. Excellent. Mike, how about you?
In reading it or rereading it, I guess my main thing is I don't know that there's anything that jumps out and says, oh, that's totally off limits and that type thing. I think some of it breaks down to the details, right? I mean, it's one of the ones that I think about is there's a statement in there about how we can confront a candidate or an office holder that's been in derelict of duty or whatever. I don't disagree with that statement in general, right? But at the same time, I worry about the way we deal with things today, to where some attorney or some lawyer of some sort goes in and nitpicks and goes, oh, well, see, this is how we'll twist it. And my concern on many of the issues is not that they're bad standards, and I have no disagreements with the standards that they're trying to set. It's more along the lines of how we interpret it, how we implement those standards. I don't want to. Again, I don't want the Republican Party or any party for that matter to overstep their bounds and overstep what was set out in the founding of this country and the freedoms that we have. I don't believe, whether we're Republican or Democrat or independent or Green Party or whatever, that we should take something that just because we're in power, hey, we're gonna rewrite this so that we control it. No, it's not about control. It's about letting the people live their lives and have that opportunity.
I appreciate that. Well, in the same vein, are there any platform planks that you would like to see worded differently? Mike?
Are there any that are worded differently? No. I don't know that anything jumps out at me and says, we got to run from this. I think, if we sit around and nitpick it and say, oh, we've got to say it exactly this way, we're going to get into the same problem of, well, that's a narrow scope, and maybe it hurts what we're trying to do. So, no, I don't know that I'm rewording anything.
I'm glad you brought that up. The purpose of the question is really not to nitpick. What I'm looking for is, are there areas that, if you're calling yourself a Republican, does this reflect your values? Does this reflect where you stand politically? And it sounds like it does.
Absolutely.
Very good. Bobby, how about you?
No, I mean, I think I voted for every one of them. We were part of crafting some of those here locally, as you were.
Yep.
And so I believe in them. I think we worded them the way that we wanted them. And I think they mean what they're supposed to mean. And they can be interpreted a lot of different ways, maybe by some people. But again, a true Republican understands what they say and values those things and will fight for them.
Fantastic. What is your philosophy about the role of county government? What county services and responsibilities are essential, and when do they cross the line to become needless or intrusive government growth? Bobby?
Yeah, so I would tell you that, the role of county government is limited, and it should be limited. We have cities all around us that have their own strategic plans and have their own way of doing business, and the county shouldn't be involved really in what they do. The county's job is to provide services to the unincorporated areas, of course, of the county. It's to decide what subdivisions are approved there. It's to set the county budget and to set the tax rate, which is probably what's most important to everybody out there, of course. And so, but we have to act in a limited way to make sure that tax rate is kept low. We have to provide services like trash and sewer and everything else to the unincorporated areas. Just like cities have to provide to city residents. And so those are our responsibilities. But as, it develops out in the county, our role in the county becomes less and less as it should be. I always say the county at one point should probably be out of government altogether. And that's okay, even though I'm running for this position, because eventually a lot of the things we do maybe won't be necessary. And that's okay.
Wow. Limited government guy. I like that. What about you, Mike?
I look at county government as we are the administrative management arm for policies set at the state level. I mean, we have a direct impact to the citizens of Rockwall County, and we have an obligation to them. I think that county government needs to not necessarily try and restrict that, and we need to understand what that role is. I do believe that one of the things we should take as a county is we are the closest one to the citizens, this county and the cities and that type of thing, and we should take great pride in that and at the same time reach out more. I think one of the problems that we've run into as of late anyway is that some of the office holders that may be at the state or even federal level have been at the state and federal levels for so long they're forgetting who our local people are. And I think the county government and the county elected officials should take a hold of that and make sure that those people stay involved and stay connected to us. And so as a county official, not only do I think it's important that I protect and hold on to the qualities that we see dear here, but it's also a matter of reflecting those ideals to the next level up, to the state level, to if we can get our congressman from Washington to come down and he wants to join in those conversations, great. But I think it's important for us to take that and reflect it on and collaborate on. As far as government policies and stuff, I think we have to maintain the idea of that freedom element at the local level. And I think if we do that and we don't try and overregulate and overburden the local level, because I do believe that all government should be local, and that's where the strength is. And so if we continue to do that and don't try and overburden it, yes, watch over our people. I think government at the county level, it's vital to watch over the securities and the platforms and the abilities of our citizens to do their job and to live their life without infringement from the government. I think ideally, I would say the local government is best when you don't know they're there. Mm-hmm. If they do their job and they stay out of your way and they never intrude on you, they're doing their job, right? It's when you have to worry about, they've changed this and I can't do this, can't do that. Okay, they're not doing their job anymore. They're now infringing on your life and your point of living, to where they're there to enhance you and protect your world and not dictate to it. And so that's where I think the county government should stand.
Thank you. Well, Rockwall is the second fastest growing county in Texas, behind our neighbors in Kaufman, which is why growth in the county is arguably the biggest challenge commissioners will face in the coming years. What needs to happen to ensure that the county can support and sustain this growth, and what knowledge and or experience do you bring to the table that makes you uniquely suited to make that happen? Mike?
I think as growth hits Rockwall, a lot of the growth that we see, all we can do is plan for it, right? We're planning for infrastructure, we're planning for roads, we're planning for water. A lot of our problem right now, and nobody speaks to it necessarily, is what I call transient, in that it's not people from Rockwall County, although we have a lot and we're growing like crazy. Obviously.
Yes, we are.
We're growing like crazy, but a lot of the problems that we see are based on our roads and the traffic flow, right? But if you look at that traffic flow, a lot of it's coming through and just has to route through Rockwall. We are the gateway to DFW. And because of that, people come through, and on I-30 with all the construction going on, obviously it's going to impact all of us. When I-30 shuts down, they turn and come through Rockwall. It's just, right now, that's where they're at. And so it's planning for that type thing. Hey, do we need to expand I-30? Sure we do. Do we need to expand, some of the other roads? Sure we do. But it's about that long-term planning. I can't wait till I have issues and then say, let's change our road, because if I do, now my roads are worse because now I'm building, and some of our problem is right now, that's exactly where we're at. We've got 4 projects going on where some of our highways, our key highways, are under construction. They shut down. Now what? Now it's winding through. So that's the key, I think, to managing the growth. I mean, there's areas with, they want to put subdivisions and all that. And I know from my experience on city council, one of the things we did was we limited the number of houses that you could put in any subdivision as a whole, but we also limited inside that breakdown the number of 0 lot houses. I think that's what Rockwall is. Rockwall doesn't want the row houses. We don't want the houses that you can walk outside and, hold both walls of your neighbors up, while we're doing it. We want to be able to spread out some, enjoy our lifestyle. And so when those subdivisions come in and they want to put, 100, 200 different 0 lot lines, yes, that's what they want to do because that makes them money. Well, my stance is I'm not worried about you making money. I want to manage the number of quality places that are coming in. Yes, we have some great people and we've got some quality developments, but I think that's the key, is managing it in that manner and just not letting, the thousands and thousands of homes come in and we have to do that in coordination with our cities. Because, if it's inside a city limit and they say it's okay, now the county can't do much about it. So we just need to work in coordination with them to do that.
Bobby?
Again, I will tell you my background in strategic management, strategic planning at a very high level is going to be very beneficial to the court, especially in this issue. And if I've knocked on almost 2,000 doors at this point in my campaign already, and the number one issue that I've heard at those doors is infrastructure issues. It's traffic, or it's water concerns, or it's growth concerns. They're all the same thing. It's all infrastructure related. And so the commissioners have a big task at hand, really. It's how do we want this county to build out the rest of it? And 3 sessions ago, the legislature took some power away from the counties.
Yes.
And they took away our ability to control MUDs, approve or disapprove MUDs, and to really control annexation and what goes on in the county area, which limits our ability. So anybody who tells you the county commissioner can stop growth right now is not telling you the truth. But there are things we can do. We do have subdivision rules. And, developers have to abide by those. And they're pretty vague. So we need to define those better. And if we define those better, then we have some control on what's going on. The other thing that really needs to happen is there's other counties, just like you mentioned Kaufman. There are a bunch of other counties going through what we're going through right now. Yeah. Texas is a hot spot, right? So we need to build a coalition of counties. We have the Texas Association of Counties now that we're all members of. We need to work together to get the legislation changed so that we can get control back of MUDs first, which then gives us control back of development in the unincorporated areas, so we can build out our county the way we want, not the way that centralized government at the state says we should. That's the wrong way to do it. Government closest to the people is always the best plan. So we need to do that, and I'm capable. I've been to Austin many times and lobbied for many, many different issues for the city, for the GOP, for many different things, and I'm comfortable building that coalition and hopefully getting that legislation through for us.
Bobby, you talked about a strategic plan. What would that strategic plan do for Rockwall County?
So the strategic plan, what it would do, and it's a 2050 strategic plan, so it would tell us where we're going for almost, a little over the next 25 years, which is important because if we don't know where we're going, we're always reactionary. And so in my opinion, having that strategic plan, although we're not going to overlay that on top of cities that already have their plans, we can't do that. This is just for the county. And we're going to involve as many constituents as possible in that because we want to know how they want to see the county progress in the next 25 years. It's just a plan so we know what we're going to do. And it's the court, in my opinion, we've been a small county for so long and we're growing so fast. It's kind of like going from the small town way of doing things to a big town way of doing things a little bit. We need to know where we're going for the next 25 years so that we can act on it. And we're not reactionary looking back and saying, oh my gosh, our infrastructure isn't where we want it to be because we didn't plan for it.
I had a conversation with Judge New about the budget because I looked at the budget for the first time, and it is frustrating to look at because of the way it's created and stuff. He says that's a key element that he wants to see changed and is working on that. Have you had a look at that budget? And what was your perception of it?
My perception is it's hard for a person who doesn't understand budgets to read, and it should never be that way.
Right,
one of my planks that I talk about in my campaign is transparency and approachability, and Judge New feels the same way. We need a better line item style budget.
Yes. Because
right now when you look at it, things are grouped together. It's hard to read. You can't tell what's in reserve. It's very hard to get a actual grasp on what's going on unless you go meet with one of the commissioners to walk you through it, or go meet with the department heads that are part of it, which I've done, to go through the budget and understand exactly what's happening. But that is something Judge New, when I met with him, said he was willing to do and is on his radar. And so it's definitely on mine because I want you to be able to pull that thing up and specifically be able to look at whatever you want.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, he's brand new, so he's still getting his feet wet, and that was one of the things that he told me that was one of his priorities. Yeah. I looked at it. The first thing I wanted to know is what is the overall budget?
Yep.
I could not find that out, and so I think those are some things that obviously can you guys and you being a strategic thinker and working with so many companies like you have, that is a skill set you're bringing to this office, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's important for the court and for the constituents for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, last March, county commissioners passed a resolution opposing municipal utility districts, or MUDs, which are both special taxing districts and political subdivisions created by developers to provide infrastructure and services such as water, sewer, and stormwater drainage in areas where city services are not available. The resolution, which has the signed support of all city mayors in Rockwall County, highlights that these special districts have been improperly used by certain developers to avoid compliance with county and city infrastructure plans. In fact, both the cities of Rockwall and Heath will not allow MUDs due to the burden these special districts place on the city and surrounding community resources and infrastructure. So, what is your position on MUDs? Bobby, you've already talked about MUDs. What do you think?
I have it. It's another big reason that I'm running for this position is MUDs are terrible not only for the county, for the cities, but they're terrible for the residents.
For the residents who live there, and that's
Yeah.
what people don't get.
It is really taxation without representation, really, for the residents that live
Absolutely.
there. It's not how our representative republic works, and I don't know how MUDs are really legal, and I know there's some challenges that are going to go on with the Secretary of State for these MUDs, which hopefully will go somewhere. But, for our sake in the county, again, we tried last session to pass a bracket bill, which is it was just bracketed out for Rockwall County, where we wanted control of the MUDs back because it is such an issue for us right now. And we got it through the House. It got killed in the Senate on a point of order. I went down and testified for that, as did Judge New, as did Dennis London. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get that through, but it's hard to get bracket bills through. And again, that's why I go back to building the coalition of counties to get this thing turned around. MUDs are terrible. The developer moves somebody into the MUD district to take one vote.
Yep,
They're not
one
even,
person.
Yeah, they're not even really a resident. And it's illegal to move somebody into an area to vote. But somehow these MUD districts get away with that, and I think that's wrong. And I think it's terrible for the cities. It's hard to plan. You can see it play out in McClendon Chisholm here, where it has killed your water resources. And in many other places, Heath is going through issues too, not specifically because of MUDs. But when you have water issues already, like the state of Texas does,
Yeah.
when you have infrastructure road problems already, you can't have developers come in and essentially take advantage of you. And I'll give you an example of one that's happening at River Rock Trails. I don't know if you've heard of this development that's going in. So this is a new development that's going to have 6,307 homes in it here in Rockwall County.
Wow.
That development is going to cause us, just by the development alone, to have to build 2 schools, according to our superintendent. That's $600 million. That developer doesn't pay for any of that. We don't charge impact fees in the county to developers. So I can promise everybody on day one in court, I'm going to bring up a vote to change our impact fees, because these developers should help pay for infrastructure. In the cities, we have impact fees, and the developers have to, that goes into an infrastructure fund, so we can have some money to work with TxDOT in certain areas to improve our infrastructure. We don't do that in the county, and I don't understand why we don't. But there's an appetite on the commissioner's court to fix that, and I'll help do that.
What I find hilarious about developers who are putting in MUDs is a lot of them talk about the property rights, the rights of property owners. They're big on that.
Yeah.
They're big on it so long as they can do what they want. But once they have control of that and they build their development, they create rules of their own, which basically strips away the rights of the homeowners, the property owners.
Absolutely.
And so they're complete hypocrites when it comes down to it. They're not willing to live by the rules imposed by the county or the cities, but they want everyone else to be imposed by their law, to fall under their rules.
They do, and then they want the services from the city or the county. Well, specifically the county. They want services from us, but they don't want to abide by our rules or help tie into our infrastructure. And it's just a terrible situation altogether. And like I said, when I'm on Commissioner's Court, we're going to do 2 things. We're definitely going to change our impact fees, and we're going to at least get some money for our infrastructure that we should be getting already. And schools are infrastructure too, in my opinion.
Yes, they are.
So we need these developers to come to the table and just be a good neighbor. And then 2, we're going to build a coalition. We're going to get control of this back. There's an appetite in so many counties to do this right now that we've got to strike while the iron's hot and get this done. We almost got it done last session. We can get it done the next one.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, where are you on that?
I'll say this. I grew up out in West Texas, and in some of the deeper parts of West Texas, a MUD makes sense because there's nothing out there, and you're forever away from everything. And so if a company will come in and help put in that infrastructure and help build that area up, it's a win, right? And it's a win for everybody there. Having said that, that's when you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
We are not, and Rockwall has a lot of infrastructure already in place. It has already a lot of systems in place and that type thing. And so it just doesn't make sense. You know, ideally, I think from a MUD standpoint, if the state wants to allow MUDs because of places like West Texas and deep South Texas and that type thing, then they can do that, but they also need to make the stipulation that if there's infrastructure around, right, that it's not mandated that you use it. Again, that goes back to the whole idea of, are you going to mandate how things are done, or whether you're going to let things happen if they fit that area. And I think that's the problem with MUDs is, you know, the other problem with MUDs obviously is the whole idea of a MUD is that somebody somewhere is going to get rich for a very long time.
Yes.
You know, my stance
and not live in the community either.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. When they can come into an area and buy 500 acres and then put one guy on it and say, hey, I vote to have a MUD. Well,
which is illegal.
Which is
technically illegal,
yes,
but they do it
but
anyway. It's exactly what they do.
It's one of those letter of the law things we're trying to squeak by
Yep.
and get away with it. Well, you know, I don't think that's right. I do think that one of the ideas that you go through and what I kind of see as an option there is to make sure that your subdivision rules, not necessarily outlaw MUDs, although we'll openly say, I don't want a MUD. We'll openly say, you know, this area is not going to accept them and all that stuff. But if they start looking around and in certain areas, I think if you were to come in and create a policy that says, if you want to build a subdivision, your subdivision has to be made up of 5-acre plots, 2-acre plots, whatever it is, right? The minute you throw out large acreage like that, the people that are putting that money together are going to shake their head and say no, because they're in it to make money. That's the only reason they want to do it. So if you take a 300-acre plot that they can put, you know, 3,000 homes on, and then say, well, you're only going to be allowed to put 250 homes on, they're going to bail immediately. And it's even in the long term, they don't make money on that deal. So it's stuff like that, you know, when I look at situations of that nature, that's part of what I do. I try and figure out, hey, what can we do that follows the letter of the law, that follows the rules in place, that follows the policies in place, but can give us a leg up to stop things from invading our area and invading our county when, you know, the citizens as a whole look at it and go, well, I don't want that. You know, the problem is that a lot of times citizens get into those situations and don't know how to get out. And they didn't realize when they got into it that, oh, I'm going to be paying taxes on this. And those guys, not only do I get
You're
to
talking
pay
about
taxes,
those who buy a house in one of these MUDs.
Those who buy a house, they don't realize what's going on.
They have no idea.
And they don't realize, they realize, hey, if I'm in the county, I'm in the city, I'm going to pay city taxes. I'm going to pay all this. But what they don't realize is now they get MUD tax. And that MUD tax, you can't vote somebody into office that says, I'm going to lower your taxes.
Exactly.
Because you have no say whatsoever.
That's right.
The company gets to come in and go, hey, we're going to raise your tax this year by $1,000. Well, do I get to say anything? No, you don't. So that's a problem, obviously. But, you know, I think it's one of those things that if we can, when we were in the city, one of the things that we did was we set forth a policy that said anytime a subdivision comes in and there's anything going on, like we were building 276 through the middle of the subdivision, part of the information that was required to be signed off on it was a written document that said, you do realize that this swath of land right here that's coming through, this is what we're going to do with it. You know, when John King was out there, hey, we're putting this road through, you do realize this is going to be a major thoroughfare, and you have to sign off on that so that you don't come back later and go, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
and to your and to add to your point about the what the MUDs do, they also create a list of laws within their own developments that you have no ability. The developer has absolute control over what those rules are, and including if you have a dead bush, they'll fine you for it.
Right.
That's not freedom. And a lot of the developers will argue property rights when they purchase the property. But once they get hold of it and put people in it, you have no rights.
Right.
It's their it's
their property, even
it's
though it's not. You're paying for it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Well, let's talk about something that few voters are even aware of, but has been a driving force behind growth throughout the county, which is the Rockwall County Road Consortium. What do you see as the Road Consortium's purpose, especially as it relates to county growth? In other words, is the consortium's job to drive development in the county by locating streets and roads that promote their vision of where they believe future growth in the county should occur? Or should their focus instead be on the areas of the county where growth is naturally occurring? And what changes, if any, would you like to see made to the consortium? Mike, now, did you ever serve on, as a member of council, did you ever serve on that? You did. Okay.
So,
yeah.
So the way I see that is the road consortium is not designed to dictate to anybody where they should build or where they should. I think it's important because it's a communication channel, right? It's a collaboration, is what it should be. It should be a collaboration group to get everybody involved, and so there's no surprises. Hey, we've got 205 is going to be under development, and it's going to impact these areas, and let's make sure everybody knows and everybody's on board with this is a priority for us to get done. I think part of the order of that is to look at, here are the roads that are coming in. Let's make sure that we're all in agreement on the priorities of what needs to be taken care of and what doesn't. It brings that that point of just visibility to it. I think it's also from a county standpoint, I live in North Rockwall. I might not see all the roads that come through McLennan and Chisholm that need impact, or I might not see things in Royce City that needs impact. I think it allows for that type thing to bring those officials from that area into a group, and so that all of us are aware of the same thing, and so that there's no, I don't have to come in strong arm because, the money flows through us and therefore I get to decide. No, let's all talk it through and decide what's best here. And sometimes that means, yes, maybe sometimes that means, we're going to repair a road or build a road in one area that does end up being a development area. And other times it means, hey, we're repairing this road because it's already a thoroughfare that's run down and we need to prepare for that and that type thing. So yeah, I don't have anything against it. I think mainly because, again, the more we all collaborate as a group, I think the better off we are. I think if any of us get into a silo and just sit in our own little bunkers, and not to say anything bad about your bunker, but if we're all alone doing our own thing, we might have ideas about how things work or what we're doing or what we should be doing. And then we walk outside and talk to the neighbors and say, oh, it's snowing, So it's stuff like that I think anytime you can bring together a group that all are on equal footing to say, hey, let's all talk about this and come to a joint agreement, I think it's a win.
Thank you. Bobby?
Yeah, and I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think the consortium focus, and I've been to several meetings, I think the consortium focus in the past was on where can we put roads so that development can happen. And I think the focus, and you can tell that when you drive around the county now, the focus must be on where has the growth organically happened and what does the infrastructure look like around it? Because really it's a quality of life issue in my opinion, right?
Absolutely.
One of our jobs in government here, county, city, any level, is to make sure that our constituents' quality of life is great. We need to think about that first. And the consortium, I think, has been focused kind of the opposite direction of that with enticing growth. And I'm not saying all growth is bad.
No, of course not.
It's not. We need growth in the county. We need the right kind of growth.
Absolutely.
But we can't neglect current needs. And we have a good consultant with TxDOT, which a lot of the roads, frankly, are TxDOT roads. We don't have a ton of county roads anymore. There are a lot of TxDOT roads, and we have a great consultant that he tells us, look, if you're ready on your end, you're going to move up the line with TxDOT. And so to do that,
You're becoming more of a priority.
yes,
Okay.
because they'll skip places that aren't ready,
I
that
got
don't
you.
have their end of the funds ready to go,
I see.
for example.
Yes.
So we need to do that, but we need to refocus that on issues that are going to help some of this traffic that we have going on now and some of these infrastructure issues that are around people that are already here, in my opinion.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, what is your vision for Rockwall County? And please include what changes, services, programs you will be advocating if elected, and if your precinct has needs that are different from other parts of Rockwall County. And share what you intend to do as commissioner to help meet those needs. Bobby?
Yeah, I will tell you that, again, knocking on doors and talking to constituents in Precinct 1, the issue is infrastructure. It's infrastructure, and then there's a fear of taxes going up, obviously, and appraisal values running away. So there's that. We've got to fix infrastructure first. And one, I mean, if you're in the shores, for example, and you try to get to I-30 certain times of the day, it might take you 30 minutes just to get to I-30 now. And it should not, that should not be the case in a small town.
Why is that?
We're just backed up.
That's...
two different lights are backed up for you. Can't, I mean, I sat through 5 lights a couple days ago.
Wow.
5 cycles of a light waiting to get from the shores just back towards Caruth Lakes.
Wow.
So that's not a good quality of life for the people living there. So that's an issue, and we need to expand 205. It's starting to be expanded, and we need to make sure that we're ready on our end as that project comes through us and all the way up through here to you. We've got to make sure that we're ready for that. That's one issue that's got to be done. And again, something I'll change on day one is our impact fees. And I think as I'm talking to people in Precinct 1, they're pretty surprised that we're not charging developers for impact fees really in the county area. And I think that's important. So that's something that I want to change. Again, I've said that several times today. I want to change that immediately, and we've got to fight to get rid of MUDs immediately. And as I talk to people in 1, we don't have MUDs in Precinct 1. That's not where they're going to be building any. There's not really any builds in 1 that have MUDs, but those MUDs affect our resources all over the county, and they're going to impact people in my precinct, and people are afraid of that. They're saying, how are we going to get water? You know, what is going to happen down the road if we keep building like this and we aren't allowed any more water on our contracts?
Yeah.
So it's a big issue right now, and it's a fear in a lot of constituents' minds, and so we've got to take action on the commissioner's court to make sure that we do the right thing.
Very good.
Yeah.
Mike?
I think the main objective for me as county commissioner is simply to continue to grow and build into the quality, not the number of people, not the, obviously we're locked into a certain area, but it's continue the services that we provide, make sure that people in their homes feel safe and secure. It's supporting the sheriff's department when they need that to make us all feel safe. And, you know, it's in walking around and talking to people, you know, oh, well, we don't think about drugs and we don't think about this or that. And I'm like, well, that's a good thing, right? And I want to continue that, and I want to make that a priority in all that we do. You know, in North Rockwall and Precinct 1, you know, we don't have the majority of the open space, right? We don't have that
Your precinct.
in our precinct.
Yeah.
Not that open space isn't important, and I think that's the interesting thing about county commissioner races altogether is that, yes, in my precinct, I might not have a lot of open space to deal with, but at the same time, when the decision comes down, I've got to be able to understand it and talk about it with my other commissioners and the judge and the citizens of those areas as well, so that we're all on the same page and that we realize where the priorities are. And so, you know, I don't think that Rockwall, obviously I love living here, and I don't think that over time we've done that bad of things, but at the same time I would love to continue to improve on that and just keep our diligence in that, because, you know, as soon as we take our eye off of it, you know, take your eye off the ball, if you will, you know, it's going to get by us. And so, you know, if we don't plan now, you know, my kids and other people's kids down the line aren't going to have the same quality of life and lifestyle that we all enjoy here today. So,
thank you. Well, here is your chance to tell Rockwall County Republicans why you are the best choice to serve as their county commissioner. So, Bobby Gallana, take it away.
So, I would tell you that I believe I'm the best candidate for Rockwall County Commissioner in Precinct 1. One, because of my background in strategic leadership and fiscal responsibility, and we really need that now as we continue to grow. We have to have fiscal responsibility and be able to go line by line through that budget to make sure that we don't increase tax rates, that we actually take on a no new tax model so that residents that are currently here aren't taxed out of their homes, and that's very, very important to me. Secondly, we need to lead with infrastructure improvement, and that is a key. As you drive around Rockwall right now, it's painful for a lot of you, and I understand that. And there are things that we can do pretty quickly from an infrastructure standpoint. We still have money from the road bond, and we need to make sure we're directing that road bond money to projects that we can do quickly in existing areas and not plan to do road construction on areas where we see growth in the future. We need to focus on current needs immediately, in my opinion. The third thing I want to talk to you about is to make sure that you know that I'm dedicated to public safety. Rockwall County is a unique and peaceful place to live, and the reason for that is our law enforcement community. It is great. If you look at counties all around us, they're just not as lucky as we are. And I don't want that to encroach on us. So we have to make sure that they're funded properly, and I'll work with them to make sure they have the funding they need to get the job done so that we all continue to live in a peaceful, safe, quiet community. And lastly, but not least, I'm for transparency and approachability. And what that means to me is that, one, we're going to do a line item budget, so we talked about previously, so that you know what's going on and you can easily find it. Two, approachability is important, and that means you're going to be able to get onto my site and book a calendar appointment with me, and my office hours are going to be open all week long, and I'm going to be available to the constituents. This county commissioner job is full-time now, in my opinion, in Rockwall. And it needs to be if you're going to do it right. So I'll be available to you. I'll be in the community as I am now, engaging constituents, and I'll make sure that I'm available to you. So I'm asking for your support and your vote. Again, I'm Bobby Gallana, and I'm running for Rockwall County Commissioner in Precinct 1.
Mike Townsend, take it away.
I think I'm the best choice mainly because I have the experience. I have years on council that have allowed me the opportunity to sit up there and listen to our citizens and know how to answer and learn to deal with the good problems and the bad problems. And I've fought through those, and I've worked with my fellow council members in that to create solutions that were good for Rockwall. My focus is on Rockwall to create a continued quality of life and continued lifestyle that we all enjoy. I want to make improvements. I think I'm the best candidate because I've done it. I've been there. I've got the people that are in, those positions that look up to me and agree with me and talk to me. I was invited to do this by the current county commissioner because he knew that I had the right attitude and right approach to solve the problems that we face every day. I'm not going to know all the answers, and I admit that, and I understand that. But at the same time, I'm also willing to take those questions and take those issues and do the deep research and look it up and not make jump decisions on how things are done. And because of that, I think I'm the right candidate for that. My opponents don't have that background. They don't have the background of dealing with government. They don't have the background of solving problems that I do. And so I think I'm the best candidate because of that. And so I'm Mike Townsend, and I appreciate your time, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
As you can tell, both of these candidates truly desire to earn your vote. If you have more questions of them or wish to know more about their campaigns, I've posted links to their websites in the description of today's show. With this being a runoff, turnout is expected to be lower than most primary races, so be sure to get out and vote. Now, early voting for this runoff is just 1 week, from Monday, May 20th through Friday, May 24th, with Election Day on Tuesday, May 28th. Now, you're watching this because you want to be an informed voter, so be sure and share the link to this program with your friends and neighbors who can vote in the Rockwall County Commissioner's race for Place 1. So until next time, I'm Bunker Bob Steinhagen, looking forward to seeing you at the polls. Blessings